Welcome to How to Build, featuring the Stonekeep Manor, a slower-paced, step-by-step series where I break down every stage of the build. Follow along or use it as inspiration for your next build. Let's get started. We'll kick things off with a 5x5x2 block L-shaped floor plan, which will then be extended by 2, making room for the double-thick walls. For the floor, I'm using granite ceiling blocks. They've got a really cool pattern that makes them great for flooring. I'm extending the floor out by 2 blocks. That way the interior doesn't end up smaller once the double walls are added. I also drop a single block to mark the start point, so I don't extend it again. The manor sits in Ferndale, overlooking the old ruins in the distance. I reshaped the land to make it flat for building. This same area will become the foundation for my upcoming city build series. Next up, the exterior walls, built with granite blocks. You'll unlock these after finding granite in the Albanese summits for the first time. Easily one of my favorite blocks, perfect for castles and fortresses. Next, I'm adding another level to the walls, just to bring the height up and give the manor more interior space. I usually have a few grappling hooks in my building bar to easily reach higher places, then just pick them up again. To define the roof, I place stepped walls. They help me visualize how the roofline will flow before I start placing the roof blocks. Onto the tower. It sits right in the middle of the exterior L shape. It's a small tower, but it adds depth to the build and works as a way to reach the upper levels using grappling hooks. In this series, I'll be showing more of the build process. I usually have a sketch I'm working off and trying to replicate it in Enshrouded, which involves a lot of trial and error to get the look you want. Out of blocks again. I farm and craft everything myself, usually off camera, so you don't have to watch me mining or block farming for half an hour. I wanted this space to feel like a proper workshop. The big double doors at the front, another at the back. To make it work, I extended the floor plan by 4 meters to keep things balanced. In my sketch, the workshop and main hall roofs are set at different heights. Right now, I'm just blocking out the wall height to get a feel for the proportions. Feels right for now. Spoiler, it's not. I fix it later though, so keep that in mind if you're following along. Next up, I'm building the interior walls with shroud wood blocks. They've got a darker tone that gives off that rustic medieval vibe. You unlock them after collecting shroud wood for the first time, which you can get by chopping the trees inside the shroud. I decided to remove the double walls for the tower. They weren't really needed, and now the space feels a bit more open. Next, I'm using midnight tomb blocks for the main hall. You can find them in an unmarked tomb east of Balefire Lance Point, up in the Albaneve summits. These midnight tomb blocks were added in the Thralls of Twilight update. They've got such a nice ornate look that emerald tint and texture work perfectly for the hall. Here I'm building the staircase to reach the upper level of the main hall. I'm using granite blocks to keep it consistent with the rest of the build. For the upper level floor, I was going to use midnight tomb blocks, but I switched to shroud wood blocks instead. They just give a better medieval aesthetic. Here's the mistake. That extra wall I added ended up being too much. I've cut out some of the footage to keep things clear and avoid confusion while you're following along. This build started from a rough sketch and a vision I had, but turning that into reality in Enshrouded took a few adjustments. In this video, I wanted to show the whole process. It's a lot of fine-tuning to get the look you're after. Sometimes you nail it, sometimes it needs a bit of tweaking. In the end, that's what keeps building in Enshrouded interesting. No matter how well you plan it, the build always takes on a life of its own. For the workshop, I'm using the 2-meter wall 1 block out to create a slight overhang, which adds a bit of depth to the build. I'm adding another layer here to create a double wall, since the interior of the workshop's upper level will use the same block. I also decided to give the hall a bit more presence by extending its height with an extra 2-meter wall block. The added height will make the staggered roofline feel more defined. I'm working on the workshop roof here with plant fiber roof blocks. I'll change it later, but I left this in because roofs are always a bit of a challenge, no matter what roof block you use. Roofs can be a pain sometimes, especially when you're working with stuff like double walls or odd shapes. You've just got to test what works, and undo is your best friend here. All the stepped walls are poking through here, so I'll need to build a double roof to cover them up. Most structures in the game actually use double roofs as well. pausing for a moment to take it in. The build finally feels cohesive. That subtle height adjustment made all the difference, and the workshop roof helps to visualize the staggered roofline I was aiming for. Next, I'm adding dormer windows to the roof using straight roof top blocks. Dormers are small roof extensions that let in extra light and break up the roofline. They add a ton of character to the build as well. Here, I'm using the single roof block to cut out the overlapping interior roof pieces, basically trimming around the dormer peak from the inside to clean it up. Next, I'm building the main hall roof using stone shingle roof blocks. They've got that classic medieval look and tie in perfectly with the granite walls. Dormers are a bit of work. You've got to clear out the overlapping roof pieces inside, but it's worth it in the end. They add so much character to the build. Next, I'm adding another room above the hall, using midnight tomb blocks as the ceiling and floor. They've got that rich pattern that works great for both. Here, I'm finishing the tower, adding the last few wall pieces, and then building the roof using outer roof corner blocks to shape the peak. I'm adding a few extra walls on one side of the tower to square it up. I only noticed it once I added the roof peak. It was overlapping by 3 blocks instead of 2. I decided to swap out the plant fiber roof blocks on the workshop for stone shingle roof blocks. I really like how they look on the hall. Totally personal preference though, so you can keep it as it is or change it up. When building an Enshrouded, your builds tend to change and evolve. It's just part of the process. I wanted to share that in this video since I usually edit these parts out. Back to building. Now we're back inside, working on the granite walls for the workshop attic. Here I'm adding granite walls above the shroud wood to make the two materials flush. Just tidying things up a bit. Now I'm rebuilding the workshop attic using half-timbered blocks. They give it that classic medieval look and help the interior feel a bit warmer. Just adding the final touches to the tower dormer entrance that leads up to the attic. Small details, but it ties everything together nicely. Looking at the build from a distance now, I finally got there with the staggered roofline, and it's really coming together. Next up, I'll be adding a few more dormers to the workshop attic to bring in some extra light. I'm placing a single block near the edge of the roof to find the center. That way, I can line up the dormer right in the middle. Here I'm using granite blocks to hide the gap between the roof and the attic floor, just tidying up that transition so it looks seamless. Just lining up the second dormer on the other side, making sure it matches the height of the first one, so everything stays symmetrical. Same steps as the other side, so I've skipped ahead a bit. Checking the two dormers, hard to see if they're even. I use door frame blocks on top and build across to compare heights. Checking the back of the workshop here, notice the new dormers are a little off, just making some quick adjustments to get them lined up. Roof's all done. Now I'm moving on to the windows throughout the base. Now I'm working on the crenellations. I start with the wall first, then trim back the roof to make space for both the wall and the crenellations. I've built a lot of crenellations, and I usually space them 1 or 2 blocks apart. 2's my preference. It can be a bit tricky to get the spacing even, especially if the wall is too short, and if you've got a bit of OCD like me, they've got to be even. Now I'm placing stepped walls at the top of the hall. These will form the peak crenellations. It's actually the first time I've added these to a build, and they turned out really well in the end. Now I'm running granite walls down the front of the hall to match up with the stepped walls. It evens everything out and gets rid of that little overhang. Just making a small adjustment to the stepped walls, moving them slightly left and right so they line up better with the roof and the wall crenellations. Easy fix. I decided to add another layer of stone shingle roof blocks to balance the distance between the roof and the stepped wall crenellations. Enshrouded's building system is all about experimentation. You test ideas, solve problems, and learn along the way, and sometimes the better way only becomes clear after you've already built it. I tried to keep this video short and sweet, but since it's the first in my How to Build series, I wanted to include everything: the mistakes, the fixes, and the process itself. Building's all about trial and error, and that's what makes it so rewarding when it finally comes together. If you've made it this far, thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. Means a lot that you're here following along. I'm adding the chimney for the hall here. It helps break up the roofline and gives the whole structure a bit more character. Here, I'm adding the fireplace for the upper hall. This space will eventually turn into the master bedroom. Now, adding the fireplace chimney for the workshop. Placing chimney blocks on the outside of the build adds a bit of character and realism. Next up, building the fireplace in the workshop using granite blocks, which pair really well with the shroud wood blocks. Those chimneys add so much character to the build. Later on, I'll drop some braziers inside them so it looks like smoke's drifting out. Here, I'm constructing the roof hatch that links directly to the master bedroom above the hall. A small detail, but it adds more variation to the roofline. Since I'm up on the roof, I may as well cut out the windows for the tower while I'm here. These one-block windows are a great way to break up the texture of the walls. They add a bit of visual interest instead of just having a solid wall of stone. I decided to use yellow luminescent blocks for the windows. They give off a nice warm glow and looks like stained glass. Just finishing up the hall with some final touches, adding the rest of the windows and doors to bring it all together. In the tower, I added another wall on the inside, so the windows are indented by one block on the exterior. Gives them a bit more depth and realism. Next time, I'd probably build the tower slightly bigger to better accommodate the double walls and the windows. I'm adding smooth granite along the corners. It breaks up the texture of the granite blocks and gives the feel of built-in stone pillars. I ended up cutting a lot of the smaller details from this video since I was jumping between areas just tidying things up. I'll show more of that in the walkthrough. I did add a few decorations inside though, just to make the rooms feel a bit more lived in. Here's the walkthrough of the final build. In the end, it turned out really well. And before we dive in, thank you for watching. I really appreciate the support, and I hope this inspires your next build. Big thanks to everyone who's subscribed and supported the channel so far. I really appreciate it. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like and subscribe. It helps a lot and lets me keep creating more builds like this. See you in the next video.